G'day people, back in Shenton Park on Keightley, whatever it is, Street, Avenue, something or other, road, and we're having a look at the filtered permeability that's here at Hensman Road and a couple other streets, or another street further up. Now, filtered permeability is where drivers have to go round and cyclists and pedestrians and everyone else can go straight ahead. Now, the issue I have with these ramps that they've got set up is I think they're too narrow. And I came out here late last week with a couple of people who know a lot more about this stuff than I do, and to protect the innocent, I won't name them, but I got out the tape measure and the gap between the U-rail and the curb is 90 centimetres, and if we've read our standards correctly, it's supposed to be a minimum of 100 centimetres clearance. Because you got to remember, it's, active transport is not just about people on bicycles. It's not about fit, confident adult cyclists. You want, this to meet the 8 to 80 rule, and I'd say even under, 8 years. I think 8 months. What about parents pushing around babies in prams or strollers, particularly double wide strollers if you've got twins? Those things are quite wide and you need a fair bit of clearance. And then people in the 80s have got to worry about mobility scooters and electric wheelchairs, all that kind of stuff. And you've got to remember that some of those people, the oldies in particular, or those with a disability, they're not driving because their motor skills are no longer any good. So, when they get on the road, they kind of wobble quite a bit and they don't exactly keep a straight line. So if you're asking them to shoot through a pretty narrow gap, particularly when you've got a U-rail which can grab a wheel, or quite a steep curb where they can hit it and go flying up over it, you're asking for trouble. Particularly, imagine someone in an electric wheelchair who's seriously disabled, who hits the curb, the wheelchair tilts over, they end up on the ground, and they're stuck there until someone comes along and picks them up. That's not a really good outcome that you want to have. Now, we did discuss a couple of options for improvement. Actually, that sign there that's completely and utterly blocks visibility up that street. It's the first time I just noticed that. It's right in the eye line. You can't see cars coming towards you from the right. And that's the kind of thing you get from doing a pertinent audit, jumping on the bike, riding around, having a look. This sign here is a lot lower. It's not an issue, and I can see straight over that cabinet there. Now, the other problem is I guess you'd call it the angle of approach and departure through these things. Those were probably put in 40 years ago originally, and the concreters back then just did what they did. And essentially they've just replaced like for like without thinking, how do I improve the flow through here? Because it's not good. You've essentially got to come right over here and then do a sharp turn. Whoa, almost hit the curb there with my foot. It's just not good. So they need to be opened up and the angles need to be changed. So you're not going through like that. It's more like that, I guess. Now that might involve, moving a shrubbery or a tree, or there could be problems with services under there, I don't know. But, someone who's in the know needs to fix it. Again, this sign looking that way, I cannot see anything coming down the street. Well, really, it shouldn't be a problem from this direction because obviously I'm worried about cars coming from my right. Now, just an addendum on the sign going this way, that sign does matter if I'm turning right. Now, maybe people think that's not going to happen very often, but clearly it will. So, the position of that sign does matter. Now, coming from this direction, and I want to turn left, at this point it's completely blocking my view up the street. I can't see anything in front of me. And I've actually got to come around it before I can see up the street. So I don't know if I'm going to drop that sign, move it, get rid of it completely, I don't know. But clearly no one's bothered to ride through here and test the sight lines at some of these intersections. But let me just go around there again check that out one more time, because I'm interested in cars coming from my right. Obviously I can, even seeing through the trees there. Okay. I get to this point here, and it's totally blocked. Zero sight line. And in fact, there's a car coming down the street now. I guess if drivers are coming down the road slowly, and you look through the trees there early on, and those trees don't droop down further to block the sight lines, blah, blah, blah. There's not a great risk of you riding out into the street and getting clobbered. But I think those signs need to be relocated somehow. Anyway, going back to the ramps and the U-rails, I'm not a road engineer, I'm not a designer, so it's not my place to tell them how to fix it. I can just tell them it is a problem. I could come up with all sorts of ideas, like why not put U-rails on both sides? Why not put U-rails on both sides outside the curbs? So you've got this great big wide gap in the middle, but you've got rails on the side that people can hang on to if they need them. And that's not a designer speaking, by the way. But that's just the kind of simple, straightforward, common sense things I would think up. Now there might be standards and guidelines which say that's not allowable, or that's silly, or you can't do that. Well, fine. If you're going to have a U-rail in the middle, you've got to push those curbs out minimum 10 centimetres. Probably 30 on either side would be a hell of a lot better. But again, this comes back to doing an audit. And an audit can be as simple as jumping on a bike with a phone and a camera, or a camera with a phone, whatever, and just riding through and talking about the issues that you see, and then doing something about it. Oh, by the way, I've done the concreting here since I was last here. All right, that'll do.